What's up? What's happening? Shimano have suggested that I make a video all about how to make every day new bike day. This right here is my Ransom, equipped with XT. It might look absolutely immaculate, but it's been in some filthy winter conditions. I really like to look after my bike. In fact, here, I've washed it, I've dried it off, and I've polished it. In this video, I'm going to share some of those tips with you so you can make every day new bike day. First of all, let's go back in time, hit the trails, and get the bike absolutely filthy. The first thing we're going to do after riding is to give the bike a wash. For me, washing my bike is the first step of making every day feel like new bike day. I'll spray the bike down and get rid of any loose dirt. After, I'll use a bike wash. Let it work its magic for a couple, and then use a mix of stiff and soft brushes to remove anything that's really stuck. Rinsing it thoroughly, the bike should look immaculate. Now we're at the point where I'll bring the bike into the workshop. I've got two routines that I'll do. One, my everyday maintenance, where I'll just dry the bike down, give it a quick check. And the second, looking at the parts, inspecting them really thoroughly and deciding if they might need to be swapped out. First of all, let's talk about that everyday maintenance. I'll start things off by drying the chain, getting rid of those water molecules. I'll just backpedal it through, giving it a clean, getting rid of the dirt, debris, anything that's still stuck to it. And then I'll start things off by lubing it up. Wet lube for those wintry, wet conditions, dry lube for the more summer, dry conditions. This just affects how it's going to perform. A wet lube does last a little bit longer and it's perfect for mixed conditions if you don't know what it's going to be like, or even really long days where it might be hard on the drivetrain. With the chain lubed up, I'll run through the gears. This does two things. It'll give a light film to the cassette, keeping things shifting really smooth, and it'll also check that the gears are actually running smoothly, and if any adjustments are needing to be made, then I can do them there and then. With my drivetrain running smooth, the chain all lubed up, we're going to move on to giving the bike a check over. I'm going to check every single bolt. I'm going to start at the rear of the bike. I'm going to spin that wheel, make sure that it's not rubbing. If it does need adjusted, I'll do that. I'll also check that those caliper bolts are tight, my rear axle, the rear mech is tight. Moving on from the back end of the bike, we'll go on to the middle. We'll check that all the main pivot bolts are tight. Same with the crank arm, torquing them all up correctly. After that, we'll move on to the cockpit. We'll check that everything up here is tight. I've always got this fear that my stem bolts are loose. I'm going to be hammering down this trail and all of a sudden it's going to swing down. It's not happened to me yet, and I hope it never happens to you because it gives me the absolute fear. After we've done that, I'll finish by just checking that the front disc brake isn't rubbing, caliper bolts are tight, and that the headset is running smoothly. That was my everyday check, just lubing the chain, checking that everything's tight, torqued up correctly. We're going to move on to something that I'll do kind of on a monthly basis, investigating that the parts are in the right working order, that they're not damaged, that they're not needing replaced. Things like your chain and your disc brake pads, they wear out and they might need replaced. So let's take the wheels off and we can have a look and see and make sure that my brake pads have still got plenty of life left in them. Got the wheels off the bike. The first thing I'm going to do is going to have a look at those brake pads. The rear is looking pretty good. I've got 50% left, I'd say, in there. And the front, let's just take a look. Again, we're looking pretty good. So the brake pads are absolutely fine there at the moment. If I am going to be replacing them, I'll use these Shimano original parts. I know they're going to fit, and they're giving me that added confidence. Right, let's put those wheels back on and we can move over to checking that chain is in the right condition. Whilst we're on the subject of brakes, if your brakes are feeling spongy, they're pulling into the bar, they're not feeling that powerful, then there is a chance that you might need to bleed them. The one thing that I do absolutely love about Shimano brakes is how easy they are to bleed. But if you're not sure how to do it, then take it to your local bike shop. With the brakes and the brake pads checked, we're going to move on to the chain. I'm going to use this tool right here. It's a chain checker. You put that onto the chain, it gives you a reading, a percentage value of stretch, and it tells you whether you need to replace that chain or not. So let's see what mine is at. So just over 0.5, which means that hopefully my cassette and chain ring should still be absolutely perfect. We're going to go ahead and replace the chain. I'm replacing the chain because it's going to extend the life of the rest of my drivetrain. Got that old chain off now, and this is a perfect time to just check that the bottom bracket hasn't got any play in it by moving the crank arm side to side, and that by spinning it, it's still running really smooth. If it's feeling a bit rough, then the chances are you are going to have to replace it either now or in the near future. But for now, let's get that new chain fitted. Got my Shimano chain right here. Again, Shimano original parts, XT chain. I know it's going to work with the rest of the Shimano drivetrain, so let's get it fitted. The new chain is fitted, the drivetrain is freshened up. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to change out the gear cable. Changing out the gear cable can just give your gears that new lease of life, give you that crisp, smooth shifting. So let's go ahead and do that. It's relatively straightforward and you only need a couple of tools. We've washed the bike, we've dried it, we've polished it, given a thorough check over. We've checked for wear and tear in the brakes, the drivetrain, and replaced the parts that we needed to. The other things I'm going to mention are things that are a little bit more complex. You might want to take them to your local bike shop and get some help with. Things like the frame bearings. It's wear and tear. These do need replaced probably every year or so. Same with the hub bearings. If there's any roughness there or they're not running smoothly, then you're going to want to get them serviced. Similarly, your suspension. Make sure that you do keep up with those service intervals. These really vary depending on your manufacturer, so check out their guidelines, but it makes a huge difference to keeping that bike fresh. So there we go, some of my tips to make every day feel like new bike day. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumb up like. If you've got any comments, questions, leave them down below. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and thanks for watching.